Francis Palm Detti he speaks for the Ghana Immigration Service. Thank you very much for joining us here, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure, thanks.
Well, let's start from the top, where Ghana has been ranked ace as far as modern slavery is concerned. How does this come to the Immigration Service?
For us, we have a mandate to educate the public on the dangers that go with human trafficking and labor-related issues, especially with those who are traveling outside the country. Migration Information Bureau actually goes out to educate the public on what to look out for. And we are also concerned with the situation within the country. We know that police seem to have a much more broader scope dealing with issues of such within the country. We focus more on the issues that pertain across the borders and outside the country. But I think that it's something that we should all be concerned about.
Well, it suffices to say, Ghana is not exactly immune from international trafficking as well. In fact, on the world score, we ranked 21st. Does it bother you? Perhaps it could put a dent on the immigration and its work. How does this bother you?
When it comes to human trafficking issues, it's not just the institutions that hold the that carry the greatest responsibility. It's also about the individuals within the country and the role they also need to play in curbing this particular situation. I believe that institutions can educate, institutions can investigate, sometimes prosecute. But if societies are bent on either smuggling their computers out or selling their computers or giving them away for labor-related issues, which turns out to be trafficking issues because of the kinds of dangers they go through, I believe it's a collective responsibility. The media has a role to play, just as GIS and other agencies and the police have those to play. If we are ranked in threat, it means that we need to put in more effort to ensure that our ranking is improved.
Speaking of roles, we understand that a joint immigration police team rescued some 350 women from from some Gulf Arab states. Tell us more about these women that you have rescued.
We did not rescue. It wasn't a collaborative effort to rescue anybody. What we have observed from September to January is that we see a certain trend, a trend where lots of Ghanaian ladies migrate the Gulf region, as in Lebanon, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, etc., for greener pastures, as it were. We've seen those numbers. Those numbers are unusual, and we think that what is important to do is to alert the public, because they may be falling victims to these supposed greener pastures out there. We also had, within the same period, about 350 ladies coming back home, most of them voluntary, others were repatriated. And the reasons for which they came back were because most of the stories they heard about going out there to have very good jobs, and some of the jobs are so flexible that they could have 2 or 3 other jobs to make a lot of money, were not true. They turned out to be domestic helps. They suffered a lot under their employers, who were a bit inhumane or harsh in their treatment, etc. So these are people who voluntarily have returned with these stories. And we believe that for those who are also moving out in droves to those destinations, they should be minded by the experiences of their colleagues and take a cue from that and advise themselves. We also think that we need to, as a people, begin to be more curious and investigate such travels before we even embark on them, and not just rely on hearsay.
So voluntarily, these women returned from these Gulf Arab states. That's what you're saying. So the immigration played no role here.
No. We did not play a role in their return.
But with a trend that the immigration has seen, how are we working with these women who have returned so that in the future we can stop this from happening?
We are in a democratic country. We are a free country. people have their liberties to move around freely, and for that reason, you can't prevent people from migrating to wherever they choose. The only thing you can do as an agency is to find out whether they have met the conditions of departure, which are spelled out in the law. Once a traveler meets those conditions, you can't stop the person from traveling. And there will be no justification for stopping that traveler from leaving the country because he's met the conditions.
But we find out that these women are being exploited. Doesn't that raise the flags for the immigration to want to work in that regard to stop this from recurring?
Yes, we have over the years, I think the past 3 years, we've worked on this project called the NEAS project. And we have gone around to educate our compatriots in the various regions of this country. We also know the migration-prone regions. We've done a lot of extensive education in those regions. We've spoken on radio stations, schools, etc. There was a running documentary even on your station, and Adom, on irregular migration. On GTV, it's been on. I mean, these are resources that we put together to educate the public. Besides, we don't have inexhaustible resources. We also have challenges in the area of patrolling the country's borders. We could also channel these resources into buying fuel to even do effective patrolling. But we have channeled substantial sums of money into informing the public about the dangers. We believe that you can only do so much in educating the public.
Beyond informing the public, are we looking at rooting out these people who promise the entire world to these women, these young women, and then take them outside of the country only to exploit them?
Yeah. We know of some adverts going on that there are job prospects in some various countries in the Gulf region. Now, the question is, we have a mandate which is limited to migration-related matters. We believe that if these agencies are engaged in a criminal activity, I mean, the police would move on to clamp them down. Besides, these companies, some are NGOs, some are companies registered legally to operate in the country. We cannot just go out there after them. Before you even build a case for prosecution in relation to anti-human trafficking, etc., you need to have a solid case in the sense that you need evidence from
but you have 350 women coming in and telling you, look, we were exploited by these people. They promised us so and so job. We ended up as call girls. We ended up as domestic helps who were largely exploited for the service they even rendered. That is not enough a case to start with?
Yes, we think that is useful information for us to collaborate with other agencies to deal with the matter. But we cannot wait till we deal with the matter, but to inform the public about the dangers that are out there and that they should be cautious. We believe that it is the process of dealing with the matter which has prompted us to come up with this release.
In other words,
we can take it from there.
In other words, the women will still be allowed to travel to these Gulf Arab states, irrespective of what they were going there to do. Yes, the immigration will not do further checks on this, considering we have a problem here.
There is no legislation that bars anybody from traveling to specific parts of this world, let alone the Gulf states. Once there's no legislation, we cannot on our own prevent people from traveling to the Gulf states. We can only suggest, we can only advise, we can only educate for now. With regards to those who are recruiting people for these supposed Gulf areas, I believe that the security agencies will look into that matter. And those who are found to be duping or misleading people will be dealt with.
Right, we'll leave it here for now. I'm grateful for your time. Francis Palmdetty speaks for the Ghana Immigration Service. We'll continue this conversation in subsequent broadcasts. It's very, very touchy and interesting turnout from the Ghana Immigration Service. Now.